My love of vintage started real early on. I was very close to my grandparents. My great-grandmother lived with us. And of course, my grandmother sewed, and there were seamstresses. And through my relationship with them, I really developed a love for all things vintage. This is a high school graduation dress from friend Marcia. This was her mother's when she graduated in 1935. And then my friend Sylvia, who I also worked with, gave me her Aunt Peg's wedding dress. This will be in a museum someday. This is circa 1918. The way that I got into vintage-inspired children's clothing in particular is around the time that I had my children, my mom sent me this box of clothing that had been in the family for many years. There were, it was all little girls' clothing, so this was after my daughter Amelia. But I opened this cardboard box and couldn't believe what she had saved. There were all sorts of dresses that my sister and I had worn when we were babies. There were even some things in that box that my mom had worn in the 1940s as an infant. This is the little dress that was mine when I was a baby. My 6-month-old picture was taken in this very dress, and I have a picture of my daughter in the very same dress. I take inspiration from a lot of crazy things. I have scoured through a big pictorial book on Shirley Temple, adorable 1930s clothes. The details are just exquisite. I've got, crazy paper dolls sitting around. I like to look back at their little 1940s outfits. I look at women's clothing as well, and I keep an eye on what sort of vintage trends are coming back in women's clothes today. So I pull all that together and, sketch out my designs. Then in terms of the manufacturing, my primary functions are design, the manufacture of the samples. I make sure that the fit and the style is just right, and quality control and so forth. I'm very involved in that process. What makes Amelia Alexandre Fresh Vintage special is that it's very sweet and feminine and nostalgic, but it has a modern kick to it. And the collection, as you see, is grouped in sets of 2. So it's actually, the concept is a sister line. The infant pieces are generally jumpsuits, and then the toddler pieces are dresses. So it's real cute, especially if you have a little pair of sisters, very cute to dress them up like this. My plans for Amelia Alexandre Fresh Vintage are to take a look back at some of the best sellers in my line and probably keep those in the collection. I'll probably refabricate them with nice, light, fresh spring fabrics for spring 2010. And then also I'm playing with some recession-friendly pieces that it will be real easy for buyers to sell and carry in their store. For example, I have some 1950s influenced twirly skirts. There will be some t-shirts that go with those that are embellished and kind of very feminine. I'm also playing with some accessories, like a collection of flip-flops that are embellished with vintage buttons, ribbon, and so forth. So what I'm doing is I'm taking vintage parts and pieces from other garments, and I'm embellishing flip-flops with those, like wonderful vintage buttons, flowery, crazy-looking buttons. So, so these individual pieces and accessories, I think, are going to be very friendly for moms who are also recessionistas or frugalistas, as they're being called.